I call the Honourable Phil Goff.
I don't know what it is about this government. All it does is oppose, oppose, oppose. You'd think they'd come up with some constructive debate about an idea that's a very good idea, but sometimes I get very tired with the negativism of this government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I did have the opportunity to hear the submissions on the original Telecommunications Interception Capability and Security Bill back in 2013, and Sarah Dowie clearly wasn't in the House at that time, so she didn't have the benefit of listening to what the companies themselves told us. And I'm sure if she had listened to those companies, then she wouldn't have made the comments that she did. She said it adds a level of bureaucracy. But, sir, the key point that the commercial companies made was that the directions that would be given by the minister to them would not take into account commercial realities, would not have the level of technical understanding to ensure that the ministerial directions on the private companies made sense and were the right way to go about it. So actually, this is not about adding a level of bureaucracy. This is about protecting commercial companies against bureaucratic decision-making when those bureaucratic decisions, sir, do not always understand the compliance costs, the way in which their decisions will impede innovation and competition, and that what the government might do through the ministerial directive actually has huge commercial implications for the companies. And I listened to a whole range of those companies. I listened to Vodafone, to what was then Telecom, to the Telecom Users Association, to Internet New Zealand, to Google, to Facebook, to the New Zealand Law Society, to Microsoft. And every one of those organisations, sir, had difficulty with this legislation that was rammed through Parliament at the time. So I congratulate Claire Curran, because I think that what her legislation is doing in the House today is dealing with a problem that the companies themselves identified and the government of the day then refused to respond to. And I'd like to talk a little bit from the Vodafone submission, because here it is. An important company, runs my telephone network and many of the members in this House, and they actually asked for specifically what Claire Curran's bill provides for, which is a technical advisory board. And they pointed out that this idea was an idea that has been implemented successfully in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has similar legislation that imposes obligations on telecommunication companies, but they had the wisdom to say, before we start directing these companies in a way that goes to the heart of their commercial operations, let's have a consultation process. Let's have an equal number of technical representatives from the communications industry and the security agencies with an independent chair. And if that's good enough for the mother of all parliaments to pass through in the United Kingdom, why not adapt this idea to New Zealand? Because the powers that the government has given itself are incredibly intrusive. A private company has to notify the GCSB about procurement decisions. They have to engage with the GCSB on design, build and operation of networks. They have to get the permission of the GCSB when they want procurement. So what Vodafone was saying is, in order to make sure government gets its decisions right, for heaven's sake, give us, the private sector, the chance to have an input before the bureaucracy and the minister, who may know nothing about the commercial implications of their decisions, do have to take into account what our concerns might be. This is not about adding bureaucracy. This is protecting the companies against ill-informed bureaucratic decisions. And what the national government is saying in the House tonight is that they want to keep on ignoring the private sector. Creeping socialism by the national government. They want to control the private sector without giving the private sector the benefit of being listened to about the implications of government decision-making. And people are getting more and more fed up with the arrogance of a government that says it has all of the answers, that will now tell a private company every detail about how it runs its operation without having any reciprocal obligation to listen to what that commercial entity has to say. I think this is a very good bill, Mr. Speaker, and I commend it to the House.